Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vivianieprice, and as you can see by the title, you already know what we're talking about. Yeah, it's that time. Do you feel like someone who truly loves and respects themselves tends to everybody's needs? Well, wait. Yeah, the answer is no. People pleasing is one of the hardest lessons to understand, not only why you're a people pleaser, but how long you're people pleasing and who you're trying to appease, like trying to become somebody who no longer people pleases. I think the number one way to stop being a people pleaser is starting to recognize your boundaries, your triggers, and drawing lines in the sand. The sand, yeah, the line, yeah, they are in cahoots, okay? They're in cahoots. Draw the line in the sand. These are my boundaries. I'm not doing it. And I wanna break this up a little bit. Now, for my very young people pleasers who are the eldest daughters in the group chat, please stand up. Please stand up, okay? We are eldest daughters. I am also an eldest daughter. We're almost trained to become people pleasers and caretakers, especially in immigrant households. When you're young, I'm talking about kids, like people who are minors, who live in your parents' household, who don't know how to set boundaries, who don't know how to draw lines in the sand. It's because you're not able to, because you live with them. There's a weird dynamic when we're talking about family and people pleasing, because as your parent, they supply shelter, food, they bear the responsibility of your existence. And in immigrant households, and especially Caribbean households and African households, it is almost expected that your life is supposed to be what they want it to be. So there's no area where you can really draw a boundary, but you need to be aware of your boundaries in the first place. Yes, you're young, and yes, you probably can't tell your parents no right now, but recognize what triggers you. Write them down, literally, in a journal. And if you want it to be like a safe place, there is ways that you can like lock your notes on your iPhone. Of course, if your parent wants to know the password, then there's issues there. But in your moments when you're by yourself and when you are angry or when something does happen and you feel like you have to do something that literally pushed you way beyond your limit, write them down. Today, this happened on March whatever, May whatever the date is, and write down what happened, and then say in the note, like write down the things that you didn't like, write down the things that made you feel uncomfortable. So as you age, when you finally do decide to leave your parents' household, you also have a decision to make. Are you going to heal the version of yourself that had to go through those things and still try to be cordial with your parents and be in your parents' lives? Or are you just gonna let go of the fact that they're your parents and you're just gonna, relinquish that relationship? I truly believe that there's dynamics in family where family is probably the hardest section, where people pleasing is the most difficult one to break, because again, of all the things that your parents provide, especially immediate family members. I'm not talking about aunts and aunties and uncles and all that other stuff. I'm talking about immediate family members, siblings, mother and father. Like that kind of dynamic can be very hard for you to like literally break, to be very hard to unlearn how to not be a people pleaser. And I think that when you're in your younger years, you just have to kind of eat it. It's sad, but you're gonna have to kind of just go through it, write down the things that really make you feel bad in those moments, recognize them, try to understand them even at that younger age, because just because you're young does not mean you're not capable of using your head. Use your mind and use the resources that are at your disposal. If you are going to public school in America, there are school counselors that are literally free. Obviously, Caribbean parents, at least my Caribbean parents, are like, if you go to the counselor, they're gonna take you away, they're gonna call CPS. So don't even think about it. But think about it. Everything your parent says and everything your parent is going through is also because this is their first time doing things. So don't be afraid to question your parents, even if it's not directly towards them, like within yourself. Like, what do they mean by that? Why do they even say that? What are they trying to get at, right? I wouldn't say rely on friends when you're really young, in your teenage years, trying to figure out how to navigate your parents. I really would say try to find a mentor, somebody that's older than you, somebody that you can trust, and somebody that you know is gonna have your best interest at heart, which is very hard to find. So if you don't have the resources and you know you're gonna have to deal with your parents at a younger age, especially your teenage years, you're gonna have to at least do the inner work of knowing what is the trigger itself and where do your boundaries lie in that sand, right? When you move out of your parents' house and you're able to make decisions for yourself, your parents have a decision to make. And that decision is, do I love my child enough to be in my child's life? Or am I going to hold these traditional values of what my expectation level of them are and not be in their lives? It's very clear. There's a why in the path. And your parents are gonna have to make a decision once you move out of your parents' house, that you have to also make a decision. And that decision is, do I care about this person enough to continue to have them in my life? Family are just people that you couldn't choose, that you're related to. Just because you're related to somebody does not mean that you owe them anything. And there is a point in time where you have to decide if distance is the best option for those relationships. I don't believe that blood is thicker than water. I understand why people feel that way. And I do understand in healthy dynamics why that is important. But in unhealthy dynamics, it is not thicker than water. It is not. It's just not. Because if this dynamic or if this relationship brings you so much turmoil, why are we in this relationship in the first place? Why are we in this relationship in the first place? My mom and I have had a very tumultuous past. My mom and I today are like best friends. I speak to my mother the most. My mother calls me to check in on me. My mother calls me just to say hi. And that's because as I was able to leave her house, she was able to respect my boundaries and I'm able to respect hers. My mother and I do not have a power dynamic in our relationship at this point anymore. She's my mom and I respect her as my mom, but she talks to me about everything. And I talk to her about damn near everything as well. Like when we talk about finances, we get into it. When we're talking about traumas, we're talking about traumas and we get into it, but we were never always there. And that's because we were both able to do healing separately to then come together collectively to keep the dynamic afloat. But if we didn't do that work separately, we probably wouldn't have the relationship that we have today. That's the reality of being in a dynamic with family. Like you're gonna make that decision when you leave the house. That's the only way, for me, in my opinion, to really deal with those boundaries. Because if your parents not willing to do the work in the home, which most parents that are immigrants don't know how to, they don't have the tools, that's the reason why it comes across like that. Like they don't know what to do. They've never been taught this. So of course they're not gonna expect to do things that you feel like they need to be doing. Like they're not gonna do that, right? So with that being said, there is work that they can do. They just don't know they can do it yet. So it's just, those are the things that happens when it comes to family dynamics. If it comes down to aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff like that, the same goes for them. Because some aunts and uncles and some other family dynamics, aunts, uncles, cousins are immediate family members. Like you live with them or you grew up with them, or like your aunt is like your second mom kind of thing. And in those dynamics, if it's a similar thing, the answers are the same. Figure out your boundaries, draw the lines in the sand, and make your boundaries non-negotiable. And once you are of age to make those decisions, stand on business. Which are your boundaries? Stand on it. And be very clear and very repetitive. Reinforce your boundaries when they are pushed. For the adult people pleasers now, shifting into friendships, dynamics with relationships, and things of that nature, you have to recognize avoiding conflict is a byproduct of not wanting to be the problem. You can still be non-confrontational and address the issue. Yeah, you do not have to come across as a very aggressive person and be rude and screaming and yelling. No, you can just say, no, I don't appreciate the fact that you spoke to me like that. And if they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Well, that's just where I stand on that. I did not appreciate how you spoke to me. You don't have to be confrontational to address the issue. You can still be non-confrontational and you are not gonna be the problem. You're not gonna be liked by everybody. You're not gonna be liked by everybody. You're just not. You are gonna be a villain in somebody else's story and you have to accept that. People pleasing is also a byproduct of wanting to be liked. That's a human experience though. Everybody wants to be liked. Anybody that tells you they don't want to be liked are lying. It's just the facts. Everybody wants to be liked in some way, shape, or form or another. Even if it's not by your immediate family or maybe your friends or work or whatever it is, everybody wants to be liked to some capacity. It is literally human nature for us to want to be liked, right? So wanting to be liked is not the issue here. You can still be liked and still be a villain in somebody else's story because you're not going to be liked by everybody. And the people that truly like you and then deeper than that love you are going to respect you without question. They are not going to push your boundaries because they respect your boundaries. They may, even if they challenge your thoughts or they challenge your questioning, it is never going to come across as rude or disrespectful. It's never going to do that. So to stop being a people pleaser, you have to love yourself enough to do the inner work to say, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it, I'm not budging on it, and it's not a question. No is a full sentence. No, full sentence. It is a full sentence. And believe that it is. And implement that in your relationships and your dynamic. I heard a quote by Yvonne Orji, and I'm gonna share it with you guys so you guys can see what she had to say, and I think it's a beautiful statement.
We'll see that I read something that says, if you ask a question and you don't anticipate no as an option, was it a question or a demand?
That's right.
And so, you know what I mean? Like,
That's
was it a
right.
question or a
That's
demand?
right.
And I
That's
think we
right.
need to like really understand it
That's
because
right.
it's like you take it so personally, but you ask the question, so I have a choice.
That ruined me because I was like, that's so true. I have a choice. You have a choice when it comes down to people pleasing. Like, you don't have to do it. It doesn't have to be you. The world is not going to shatter if you say no. No is a full sentence. Epi, that's it. It is not your responsibility to tend to everybody else's needs. People are never truly satisfied anyway. So who are you trying to appease in this situation for real? You're not going to be, revered in any positive way because you're appeasing somebody. Because some people want to push that limit. People that don't know that you're a people pleaser are only going to keep asking because people do what you allow.
What did he say?
People do what you allow. If you allow somebody to speak to you in a certain way and you never rectify that level of speech towards you, they're going to continue to do it because they think it's okay. You never told me it was a problem, so why is this a problem? And if you do address it as a problem and then their response is, well, you've never did it before, well, now it's a problem. If it's a problem, let's address it. And if we can't address it, and if it's a point where our dynamic is not allowing for us to grow and work through the problems that do arise in any dynamic, regardless if it's friendship, relationships, or family dynamics, then we don't need to be cool. Another thing that I really, really had to get into my head as a reformed people pleaser is I had to let go of people. Letting go of people is very painful. I understand it firsthand, believe me. But there are some things that you should not be budging on just to have people in your life. It's better to have 1 or 2 or even 3 solid core people that you know are gonna rock with you no matter what, than to have a whole bunch of people who really don't care about you, but you have them there because, well, they fill in spaces, they fill in seats at the wedding or whatever the example that you could possibly bring in that analogy, right? Like, at the end of the day, you have to just let them go. You have to be okay with letting people go that do not coincide with your boundaries and your values. And I think that lesson was probably the hardest one for me to learn because I was kind of like, well, we're friends. Like, we've been friends for so long. I can't believe we're not friends anymore. Or we're family. Like, there's no way. Like, family, we're supposed to stick together. Like, no. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get cut off in regards to my boundaries. I don't budge anymore. I don't budge. Either you're on the boat or you off the boat. Epi, that's it. Epi, that's it. Either you're on it or you're off. We're not doing the in-between. And if that makes me a villain in somebody's story, or if that makes me, rude, all the negative attributes that you can apply, especially to a Black woman, because people like to play with us, for real. Yeah. If that makes me whatever storyline that you want to create, that it makes me in your opinion, in your eyes, that's your business. Because your opinion has nothing to do with me. Your opinion has nothing to do with me. Somebody else's opinion has nothing to do with you. It is not your business. It is not your business. So when we're talking about trying to get out of the habit of doing something that maybe you were either trained as eldest daughters, as we were, or you just found yourself doing things constantly because it just was easier, you don't want to be you're non-confrontational, all these different things that make you feel like you're obligated to do these things, understand you're not obligated to do anything. Nobody can make you do anything. You can do whatever you want to do, 1. 2, it is not your responsibility to tend to everybody's needs. You are not Captain Save Everybody. Okay? You're not. And 3, people that love and respect you are going to respect your boundaries and love you through it. There is no disrespect. There is no back and forth. All right, you're uncomfortable with that? I'm completely okay with that. I'm sorry. Apologize. People that love and respect you are going to apologize and genuinely not do it again. Genuinely. Not, oh, I'm sorry, and then do it again and then say I'm sorry again. You didn't mean your apology. You don't believe the words that are coming out of your mouth. And if you don't believe the words that are coming out of your mouth, what makes you think I'm supposed to believe the words that are coming out of your mouth? Who am I? I'm not a psychic. I don't know what you got going on in your head. And honestly, what's going on in your head is not my business. I have to only stand on your actions and your words, and your actions don't match your words. So what are we talking about? You are valuable enough to love yourself. You need to love yourself deeply, fully, and truthfully. Go through the process of loving yourself. And go through that process because there are certain things that when you are loving yourself, you're probably like, I didn't even know this was my issue. I didn't even know I had an issue with this thing. I didn't even know that I felt this type of way about this topic. And once you fully go through that process, which is honestly an always evolving thing, like you're not, maybe there's gonna be seasons where you probably don't love yourself, but when you go through it and you have like a strategy or maybe a system that can help you get back to who you know you are, you recognize like, oh, I love myself for all the good, the bad, and the ugly. And because I love myself that much, I love myself too much. I respect myself too much to just become an instrument or a tool for somebody in their toolkit. I don't want to be a tool in your toolkit. I am a whole entity. I am an entire human being. Don't forget to ask yourself questions as to why you're even trying to be this quote unquote people pleaser. Like, why am I trying to appease this person? Why am I trying to appease this person, this environment, this dynamic? Is there something in me that I'm not recognizing? Because sometimes you don't even know that you're people pleasing. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I'm being helpful. I'm being so helpful. Everybody says I'm so helpful. Everybody says I'm so reliable. I'm so empathetic. Yeah, you can be all of those things and still draw boundaries. I don't have the capacity. I am incapable of tending to this need. You are not the only person that can help this person or help this situation or help this environment. It is not for you to jump through a million hoops to make the situation work the way you think it's supposed to work. It's not. There are plenty of people that can do multiple things. People are multifaceted. It does not have to be you. And why do you feel like it does have to be you? You shouldn't put yourself in that mindset, like, because it's just genuinely false. You can be helpful and still draw boundaries. You do not have to feel like your worth is attached to what you do. For starters, your worthiness comes before what you do. You should feel worthy and loved and respected before you go, oh, I'm supposed to be doing 1,000,001 things. Because if those things are at the top, then everything else that you do are going to align with those things just naturally. Thank you for watching all the way to the end if you watched this long. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Vivi Price on all socials, and I will catch you guys next week for the next video. Bye.